Step-by-step technique. First of all, it's really important to read all the words given and consider their meanings. Try to group 2 or 3 words together that are linked or associated. So how are they related to each other? So in the shape example, you could make a link between sphere and cylinder as they are both 3-dimensional shapes. So remember, we're looking at these 4 shapes here: sphere, cylinder, rhombus and prism. A sphere and cylinder, we know, are both 3-dimensional, 3D shapes. Next, you could check if rhombus or prism are also 3D shapes. A prism is, so it could be grouped with sphere and cylinder. So then, if 3 words are grouped together, it should leave the word which is the odd one out. Therefore, rhombus is the answer in our example, as it's the only 2D shape. So general knowledge of both 3D and 2D shapes would be a useful thing here. So rhombus, as our example, is the odd one out because it's 2-dimensional, not 3-dimensional. Another important skill to develop is having awareness of words with a dual meaning. These are called homonyms. And in this example, 3 of the words below are linked. Underline the word that is not related to each of these 3. So I'm going to talk about dual meaning words, but let's just have a look at our example. Might, power, strength, maybe. And the first word in that list, might, has a double meaning. It can mean strength, the mighty warrior, for example. But it can also mean the possibility of doing something. We might go to the park. Therefore, when you group might with other words, it could be paired with maybe or strength and power. So as you can see in the Venn diagram, we've sorted them out. Power and strength on one side, maybe on the other. Might goes in the middle because it has a dual meaning and can fit in both categories. So might has the same meaning as all the other 3 words. Therefore, maybe is the odd one out because power, might and strength are synonyms of each other. So although might can mean maybe, in this case, it's a synonym of power and strength, and therefore those 3 words are grouped together. So we're going to do the develop part of the assessment first, and you had to circle the letter underneath the word, which is the odd one out. So number 1 was interested because the others are all synonyms meaning kind. Number 2 was cousin. And this is because a mother, aunt and daughter are all female family members. A cousin could be, but isn't necessarily. So that's the odd one out there. Number 3 is report because the others are all forms of fictional writing. Number 4, this is beast. The others, ghost, ghoul and spectre, are all synonyms. They mean ghosts. And twinkle, shine, gleam and glow. The answer here is twinkle because the others are steady forms of light, whereas a twinkle flickers. Number 6 was robin. The others are birds of prey. Number 7 is stranger. This is because the others are synonyms for friend. Number 8 is middle. The others are boundaries, referring to an edge. Number 9, trousers. Quite self-explanatory there. The others are all synonyms for dress. And number 10 is peas, because the others are all root vegetables. They grow underground. So this was your practice section before you moved on to the timed test. We would like you to aim for approximately 8 minutes to complete it, but at this stage, do not worry too much if it takes you a bit longer. We will be working on time management as we progress through the blocks. The main thing is that you're taking your time to consider your accuracy and understanding of what the words mean. Some of these words start to get a little bit more complicated. And as always, I would suggest if you come across any words that you are not familiar with, if you haven't done so already, please do pause this video and write them down in your word and meaning books. This is really important because it will help you learn new vocabulary that will not only help you with the Teach It Right assessments, the 11 plus, but also in your general schoolwork as well. So that's like your own personal dictionary. So number one, all of those other words mean a bad person. I doubt you're familiar with the term reprobate. So that would be one, for example, that you could put in your word and meaning book. And you can look in a dictionary for some of these as well to get further clarification. And a donor is somebody who gives something, who donates. Number two, it's confusing because the others are all synonyms for being careless. And number four is erratic. That means all over the place, whereas the others are stable and unchanging. Number four, they're all trees, but a pine tree is an evergreen tree, and elm, beech, and oak are all deciduous trees. So they lose their leaves in winter and grow them again in spring. Number five, Scotland. The others are all islands. Number six, this is sage. The others are all religious leaders, which you may be familiar with. And number seven, letters are slightly cut off, but this was D, shallot, which is like a type of small onion, and the others are all fruits. Then eight was waddle. The others are types of penguin, and a waddle describes a way of walking, which a penguin might do. Number nine, agreement. The others describe ill-mannered ways of speaking. Number 10, a Dalmatian is a type of dog, and the others are all cats. Number 11, somewhat is not completely, and the others are. Number 12, the other words are all ways of saying something that's nasty or with bad intent. 13, sever means to cut, but the other three all mean extremely serious. So dire and acute are synonyms for serious. And then number 14, you can write a letter, but the others are all ways of speaking. You may give an address to the nation. You may deliver a speech or simply talk. And then 15 is a force. All the others mean to give way or give in. 16, they're words for something that has happened, whereas a scene is, it could be a scene in a play, or you might approach the scene. It's a location. Number 17, to hoard means to stockpile things, to keep things unnecessarily, whereas ruckus, rumpus, and hullabaloo are all types of chaotic things, a noisy commotion. 18, these other words mean friendly, a way of describing somebody who is friendly. 19, perchance, perhaps, and maybe are all synonyms. So particular is the odd one out. Now 20 is insane. The other words are synonyms of each other. Eccentric idiosyncratic and quirky. Again, these are words that I would advise looking up in a dictionary and writing in your word and meaning book. If somebody's a little bit eccentric, it means they have some funny ideas and maybe act a little bit odd sometimes, but it doesn't mean that they're mad and they've lost their mind or anything like that. Number 21, intelligible means clear. The others describe something that is difficult to explain. And 22, distant, is obviously far away. The others mean something is coming, something is about to happen. And 23, the others mean types of magic spell. 24, the others are all ways of looking at things. You might have a particular stance on something, for example. 25, these describe somebody's behaviour. So bearing is a way of describing somebody's behaviour. 26 means uncomfortable, whereas the others describe confusion or people in confusion. 27, the others are synonyms for exaggerated, overblown, inflated. 28, the others mean ineffective. They're not good at doing something. So ineffectual, inept, useless. They are all synonyms for the same thing. 29 was C, hat. The others are ways of describing a dull or dark place. And number 30, circuit. All the others actually mean to join together. So you might fuse something together. You might amalgamate a group of people together or merge them together. So they are synonyms of each other. Now, if there's any other words there that might need explaining, so efficacious, for example, this is successful in producing a desired result. Something that you intended, you've been successful in making happen. Again, have another look in a dictionary, and that will give you more examples and context. And the other word I think you might not be familiar with is number 27. This is bulbous, and this means sort of a fat, bulging roundness. Disconcerted, I said that was uncomfortable, and the others mean confusion. Okay, we're going to move on now to the next section, which is odd two out. This is a similar but a slight variation to the theme. It involves a greater awareness of grouping words with a similar meaning or connection. And one important point to note here is that the two words left over don't always have to be linked to each other. So they are not related to the other three words. This time you have 5 words, but they don't necessarily have to be related to each other. Again, thinking of different words that belong in a particular category can be a good exercise to help you with this question type. So first of all, we're having a practice and developing. Find the 2 words which are different from each other. So here we have hands and horse. The others are all intervals of time. Hands actually has several meanings because, of course, it could be hands. It could also be hands on a clock that are used to measure time. And horses are measured in hands. So hands can also be a unit of measurement. So it's linked to the other words a little, but minutes, seconds, and hours are all related to each other, excluding hands and horse. Number 2, between, because, and within are all prepositions. Because is a conjunction and thought is a noun. Number 3, mauve and violet are odd, and they are linked to each other because they're shades of purple, whereas the others are shades of pink. Number 4, again, these should be fairly self-explanatory for you. Cheese and butter are dairy products as opposed to meat. And number 5, relax and rest have no bearing on the temperature. Then we had father, uncle, son, cousin, and sibling. And this is similar to the one we had in the odd one out. Father, uncle, and son are all male members of the family, whereas a cousin and a sibling could be either. A sibling could be a brother or a sister. 7, shed and garage are all places outside of the house. Butterfly and bumblebee fly, the others do not. Number 9, expire and lapse. This means something's ended, whereas inspire means to motivate and encourage. And 10, here's one for your vocabulary books, I'm sure. Abhor and dislike. They are synonyms. They mean to hate something, but the others mean to like. So once again, your next activity was to complete a timed test as close to 8 minutes as possible where you can. Number 1, potato and carrot. Again, they're root vegetables. They grow in the ground. The others have leaves and grow above ground. Number 2, they're all things that you can read apart from library and newsagent where you would go and get those items. Number 3, door and floor are the odd ones out here. A rug, carpet and a mat can all be put on the floor. Number 4, the others are types of flowers, and lemon and mint are fruits and herbs. Number 5, embark, start and begin are all synonyms, whereas shock and bored are unrelated, and they are unrelated to each other as well. But the important thing to recognise was that embark, start and begin are all synonyms of each other. Number 6, sorry. Strength and cheerful are the unrelated ones. These others are types of shellfish. And then 7, emu and penguin are the only birds that can't fly. Moving on to 8. A mission, assignment and expedition are all types of journeys with a purpose, whereas a holiday and camp are slightly different. 9, secret and treasure. All the others are beneath the earth. 10, the others are all methods of removing something. And 11, cease, conclude and finish. These are synonyms. They mean to stop, to end something. Cease, I'm sure, would be a good one to put in your vocabulary books here. To concede means to give up, to allow somebody to take your place or somebody to win. Converse comes from conversation. It's about talking. So again, any words, even if they're the odd ones out or not the odd ones out, please do write them in your vocabulary books. You can pause this video at any point for as long as you need while you do that. Number 12, gap and hole. They're linked to each other and they are the odd ones out because the others mean to make a hole in something. They're verbs. To puncture, to perforate, and to rupture. A rupture is more specifically like a type of tear. 13, flourish and disappear. Flourish could be growing, developing really well, whereas that's quite the opposite to shrink, shrivel, and wither, all meaning to become shrunken. And then 14, happy and table. We're our odd ones out here. That's because all of the others can be verbs. So this one you had to think about the grammatical context a little more because actually at first glance they might all be unrelated. So this time we were looking at the word class. We can begin something, we can dance, we can think, whereas the other two are nouns. Then 15, we have child and person. The other words relate specifically to friendship. 16, great and good. Notice there's a homophone here. A great and C great. They sound exactly the same, but they have different meanings. So the spelling of C, great, relates to a part of a fireplace, as does hearth, as does chimney. 17, prominent, outstanding, and protruding all mean sticking out, whereas intruding means entering without being invited, and ingrowing, something is growing in the opposite direction to what it should. 18, ramble, wander, and stroll are all types of walk. Bramble is a bush, and a marathon is a long distance run. 19, this is a type of public speaking, sermon, lecture, and speech, whereas whisper is a way of speaking quietly, and to instruct. You can do that publicly. You might give instruction to a group of people, but you might also do that to one other person. Number 20, mint and sage are herbs and the others are flowers. 21, these are not nice characteristics, whereas hope, faith, and mercy are indeed pleasant. 21, that was 21, sorry, 22. Artful, crafty, and cunning. These are all synonyms of each other and synonyms for sly. 23. The others are female animals. A sow, mare, and a ewe. A foal and bullock are young baby animals. 24. All of the other words are words for a home. 25. Brisk, rapid, and quick are synonyms, meaning fast. 26. All of the others are synonyms for broadcast, to relay something, to communicate, to transmit. 27. Block and paper. All of the others are a small part broken off as something bigger. 28. Think and look. are the odd ones out because the others are called palindromes. That might be something you want to note down in your jotter or word of meaning book. A palindrome is a word that is spelt the same both forwards and backwards. So have a look. Madam, rotor, and kayak are all spelt the same forwards and backwards. They're called palindromes. 29, you've got two homophones here, A and B, idle and idle. They sound ever so slightly different, but very, very, very similar. A, to be idle, is to be lazy. So sluggish and indolent are synonyms here. Whereas an idol in B is somebody that you worship and look up to. And speedy is a synonym for quick. And finally, 30, fire and dragon. The other words, quell, extinguish, and allay, all mean to put an end to something. Okay, we are done. Brilliant. I hope that has been helpful. Well done, everybody. Please, please, please do use those word and meaning books because they're really important and they're really going to help you going forward. And we will see you next time. Bye for now.